Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is the story about what if Naruto was master of the forbidden jutsu Jiongu. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. So without any further ado, let's start the what if. Konoha Hokage Tower. Are you sure of doing this now? I thought you wanted to wait until he was older and ready to learn about his heritage, right? Hiruzen asked Jiraiya. And to wait till he was stronger, but since Naruto already knows about his, and is stronger than we thought, it might be better to do it now rather than later, Jiraiya explained. Hiruzen sighed and took a long drag of his pipe. He wanted to think long and hard on all of this. Jiraiya was correct in saying that Naruto was stronger than they had predicted him to be, and he had known about his heritage earlier than he should have. I can agree with your points, however, it still seems a bit risky to send him out now, Hiruzen told him. We're still recovering from the invasion, and I will need to announce who has become a Chunin soon. Can't you hold it off until we get back? Jiraiya asked. I've been putting it off for a while now, I can't put it off anymore, Hiruzen explained. Well, why not bring them here now and get it over with? It's not like it's a public event, Jiraiya told him. I suppose you're right, now would be a good time to inform the new Chunin of their position, Hiruzen agreed. It would also bring Naruto and Kushina here so you may gain her permission to take Naruto on your journey. Why would I need her permission? Jiraiya asked. You want to take Naruto to his homeland, where there's sure to be some form of danger along the way, without informing his mother? His mother, who is arguably one of the most powerful kunoichi alive? Hiruzen asked. Well, when you put it that way. Jiraiya gulped. Anbu! Hiruzen shouted, summoning a small group of Anbu units that kneeled before him. Go and summon each of these shinobi to my office, he ordered, placing small name cards of each promoted genin on the front of his desk. The Anbu took the cards, and memorized the names on them before burning them with a small katan jutsu. Also, whoever is going to summon Naruto Uzumaki is to also summon Kushina Uzumaki as well, Hiruzen told them. The Anbu nodded before using the Shunshin to vanish from the office. 1 hour later. Hinata Hyuga politely knocked on the Hokage's door, waiting for permission to enter. She was wondering if the Hokage had a mission for her team. Enter! The Sandaime shouted from within. So she turned the handle and pushed open the door, seeing all of the occupants inside. Both of her teammates, Kushina and Shikamaru, in front of the Hokage's desk. Standing behind the Hokage was Jiraiya with his arms crossed, leaning against the window. Ah, thank you for coming, Hinata, Hiruzen greeted. Hi Hinata-chan. Naruto greeted as he gave her a smile. Hello Naruto-kun, Hinata greeted in response. And hello to you as well Shino-kun, Shikamaru-san. Greetings Hinata-san, Shino greeted. Shikamaru merely grunted in response, as he looked like he would rather be sleeping than being here. Now that everyone is here, we can begin, Hiruzen began. Begin with what? Naruto asked. Why with telling you that you've become Chunin of course, Hiruzen told him with a smile on his face. Ah! Naruto exclaimed, voicing the shock that all of them probably felt. Shikamaru was probably feeling annoyance instead. I've been promoted? Hinata gasped. Indeed, you impressed both the Raikage and myself with your skills during the exams, Hiruzen told her. It took your mother quite a while to create her own version of the Juken, but you managed to learn the basics in a month's time from what I've been told. It's nothing really, Hinata told him. There's no need to be modest, you should be proud with how far you've come in such a short amount of time, Hiruzen told her, presenting her with a Chunin equipment set, which included a flak jacket, a manual on the responsibilities of a Chunin, and more kunai, shuriken, as well as some scrolls. Thank you Hokage-sama, Hinata said as she took the equipment set and backed away, a proud smile on her face. Her teammates proudly clapped for her, and Shikamaru gave her a nod of acknowledgement. Shino Aburama, Hiruzen began as the other member of Team 8 stepped forth. Your skill with Kinjutsu was most impressive, as only a small number of Aburame have picked up another skill outside of their particular field. What was also impressive was how you managed to manipulate your Kikeichu in those unique ways to work in conjunction with your Kinjutsu, not to mention your mental fortitude when you lost a large number of them in your match with Hinata. Thus, the Raikage and I have agreed to grant you with the rank of Chunin. Hiruzen handed him the equipment set that he had already given Hinata. Shino bowed and stepped back, a small smile on his face. Shikamaru Nara, your promotion was a special case. Hiruzen began as the lazy Nara trudged up to him, a tired look on his face. Straighten up, kid, you're standing in front of your boss, Jiraiya said sternly, causing the young Nara to straighten up. While your intelligence and the skills that you possessed in making such plans were very impressive, your lack of motivation and disinterest had worked against you. You have been granted the rank of Chunin, but your father and I spoke after the fact and we decided that if you are performing poorly, your rank will be taken away and you shall become a genin once more. Troublesome, can't I just turn this down? Shikamaru grumbled. You could, though I believe that your mother will be very upset at your decision, not to mention that it could injure your chances at a future promotion, Hiruzen told him as he held out the equipment set. Shikamaru just sighed and took the equipment. And finally, Naruto Uzumaki, Hiruzen started with a small smile on his face. Naruto stepped forward with a large grin on his face. Kushina standing behind him with a proud look on her face. Quite frankly, you surprised both myself and the Raikage with everything you did. Your high amount of skill over your Jiongu and all of the jutsu that you've learned was very impressive. The coordination between your hearts and the combination that you made between Katon and Doton for making Yoton shocked everyone, I believe. Not me, I pitched him the idea. Jiraiya boasted. Yes, and I'm surprised that you were the first one to come up with that idea, Hiruzen told him. Is that an insult? Jiraiya asked in a deadpan tone. No, I just mean that I had expected myself to come up with it as I had done the same thing in the past, Hiruzen told him. Another thing that surprised everyone was your unique summons, though you did have the Kitsune contract before, right? Yeah, but I can only summon small Kitsune for stealth or sabotage missions, Naruto explained. I kinda have to earn the respect of the other Kitsunes. Nevertheless, I am proud to award you the rank of Chunin, Hiruzen said as he handed the young Uzumaki his own equipment set. Naruto took it with a giant grin on his face before stepping back. Congratulations to all of you, make sure you continue to do good work for your village and its people, Hiruzen finished before dismissing them. Naruto, Kushina, if you could stay for a moment. Bye guys, see you later. Naruto shouted to his friends as they left. Hinata gave him a small wave while Shino nodded in his direction. Shikamaru merely grunted before trudging out. So what's up? Kushina asked. Hiruzen merely motioned for Jiraiya to begin. I want to take the Gaki with me to Uzushiogakure to dig up any secrets that the Uzumaki clan might have left behind, Jiraiya told her. Why? She asked, some concern filling her being. Originally, we were going to ask you if you would assist us in this mission, but then we learned that you were pregnant with your son at the time, Hiruzen told her. We then decided to wait until you had fully recovered from your pregnancy before asking. However, your assumed death caused us to wait until we believed Naruto was ready to learn of his heritage before asking him. And with him learning about it now, as well as gaining much more power than we thought he would, we decided to initiate this little plan of ours now. The reason for this is to make sure that none of our enemies can get their hands on anything that can be catastrophic for the village, Jiraiya explained. We were allies with the Uzumaki clan, and we failed them in their time of need. All we can do now is make sure that all of their seals, relics, and anything else that they have is recovered and kept out of our enemies' hands, specifically US. Still, why not ask me to go? I'm capable, Kushina argued. Truthfully, we feel that you still need to recover some more. Tsunade said that you're still not where you used to be, and that won't change for a while still, Hiruzen explained. Plus, there are still clan head duties that you need to go over, and that will still take a while to get through. Don't worry Ka-chan, I'll be fine, Naruto reassured her. Besides, I always wanted to see Uzushio after I learned about having a clan. Kushina bit her lip in thought, thinking hard about what to do. After a few minutes, she let out a sigh. Alright, you can go, Kushina said. However, I want you to make sure that he doesn't come home with any serious injury. She directed that last part at Jiraiya, who gulped under her glare. Come on Gaki, we're gonna be leaving in a couple hours, Jiraiya told Naruto before leaping out of the window. Can't he learn to use the door like a normal person? Kushina sighed before leaving herself, Naruto following her moments later. Hiruzen just sat back and took a drag from his pipe, a small smile on his face. 3 hours later, Konoha Gates. He says to meet him here at this time, but he can't even be bothered to show up when he says to show up. Naruto grumbled as he waited impatiently by the gates. He had a small backpack with him, filled with necessities, and scrolls containing even more items just so he didn't run out. I'm sure that Jiraiya-sama had some important business that he needs to do, Hinata defended. She was there along with Kushina and Natsumi, preparing to see Naruto off. That is, if the Sannin that he was supposed to go with would show up. Hiya. Jiraiya greeted as he strolled up to them, a large grin on his face. Kushina scowled as the smell of booze and cheap perfume entered her nose, letting her know just exactly where Jiraiya was. You old pervert. You went and hung out at another brothel, didn't you? Kushina yelled, preparing to pull out her sword on the old Sannin. Jiraiya cringed and took a leap back, ready to run if he needed to. Hey! Do you want this trip to end up being longer than it needs to be? Jiraiya shouted. I don't want to spend too much time on the road, even if I do like traveling. Not enough pretty girls to research. He whispered that last part to himself. Kushina growled and made a threatening motion with her sword before putting it down. Jiraiya let out a sigh of relief before walking up to the group. So Gaki, ready to head out? Jiraiya asked the young Uzumaki. Yeah, but Natsumi has something to say to you, Naruto told him, a devilish grin on his face that sent a shiver down Jiraiya's spine. He turned towards the little girl and bent down to her height. Yeah, what is it, kiddo? Jiraiya asked. You better take care of my big brother, or else me and Mugali are gonna get you, Natsumi said as she held up her little doll, making Jiraiya turn pale as a ghost before backing away in fright. You've made a monster with that thing. Jiraiya shouted at the snickering blonde who just shrugged in response. Naruto then turned to Hinata, who had a nervous look on her face, most likely from the thought of Naruto being away for a while. It was even worse as they had just become a couple too. Don't worry Hinata-chan, I'll be back before you know it, Naruto reassured her as he placed she hands over hers. Hinata took a deep breath to try and calm herself before she looked at Naruto with a smile on her face. Right, I'll be waiting for you. And I'll be stronger when you get back too. Naruto laughed and gave her a tight hug which she eagerly returned. After a minute, they released and Naruto went to Jiraiya. Ready? The Sannin asked, Naruto nodded and the Sannin turned and started down the road, Naruto following him. He turned ADN gave a final wave to his family and girlfriend which they eagerly returned before he turned back and continued after the Sannin. Hinata let out a sad sigh as Naruto disappeared in the trees. Kushina placed a comforting hand on her shoulder and said, Don't worry, he'll be alright, he's Minato's son after all. Hinata gave a firm nod before all three of them walked back into the village. Up in his office, Hiruzen was watching his surrogate grandson leave with his old student. He offered a silent prayer for them to have a safe journey before returning to his work. Unknown. In a dark area of a forest, there was a large round table with 13 symbols carved into it. There was a flame, a tornado, cracked earth, a water drop, a bolt of lightning, a snowflake, a strange circular symbol with a cross through it, for swords, a cloud, an eye, a tree, and a sun were on the outer edges of the table. In the center was the image of a burning moon, with the flames arced in a way that it was streaking towards something, almost like a meteor. 12 portals opened up on all of the outer symbols except for the sun emblem, and shadowed individuals came out of the portals. The only recognizable one was Ifrit, who stood at the flame symbol. For what reason have you called us here for, Arbiter? The figure at the symbol of the 4 swords asked the one over by the symbol of the bolt of lightning, his voice buzzing like an insect's. There has been an awakening, the figure replied, his voice carrying years of wisdom with it. Another one of us hath supped of the ether, and has become free of her fetters. Of whom do you speak of? Came the gentle voice of a young woman over at the symbol of the snowflake. He speaks of mine sister, another of the triad, spoke the large figure over by the symbol of the tree. What made him noticeable was she 6 arms. With this, our number is now at 14. The one previously called Arbiter raised his staff, which had a twisted appearance at the top of it, and slammed it down. The table began to grow larger and another space appeared between the figures standing at the tree and eye symbols. Another symbol appeared, this one being scales in balance. The one standing at the eye symbol scoffed. Our number is truly at a count of 12 now. That accursed bird is never present, the metal titan still sleeps, and our Lord is still keeping himself broken and fragmented. The Lord of Rebirth has sworn to watch over our Lord and to mend his broken body. You have no right to admonish him for the oath he has taken, the figure at the strange circular symbol told the other figure. He appeared to be on a horse. As for the Lord of Time, we have not the ability to awaken him, for there is still a piece of his key missing, and the boy will have to be the one to infuse ether into his core. Speaking of the boy, the Arbiter began as he turned to Ifrit. What are your thoughts on him? He is young, and has room for improvement, Ifrit said to them. However, he has courage and compassion for his friends in his heart. There is a light within him, a light I have not seen since the days of the Warriors of Light. We must be careful, we cannot allow the light to grow too much, lest we allow this world to suffer like the first nearly did, came the voice of the one on horseback. Agreed, it nearly brought ruin unto the already fragile balance, and we would have fallen into the ether, never to awaken, as our followers, and my children, would have perished, spoke the giant over by the symbol of cracked earth, his voice deep and gravelly. For the warriors of the first aimed to end the warrior of light, and without them, the paragons would have drowned the world in darkness, creating another void. This is a delicate matter indeed, we must tread carefully. We cannot waste the second chance we have been given, the serpent-like figure over by the water drop symbol spoke. We are in agreement then? The Arbiter asked, seeing all of them nod their heads, he continued. Then this meeting is adjourned till the next matter arrives. I trust you shall see to it that your fellow triad member is informed of our situation. The 6-armed figure nodded, and then the Arbiter raised his staff and slammed it to the ground like a gavel, upon which all the figures returned to the portals that they came from, save 2. Is there more you have to say, Ifrit? There is a human among the council our young summoner serves, one who holds a greed for power in him, Ifrit explained. I fear he may attempt something to force the boy to submitting to his demands. The figure appeared to be in though for a moment before replying, your concerns have been noted, and I shall speak to the rest about thy worries. Ifrit nodded and backed away into his own portal, and the Arbiter did the same, leaving the forest empty once more. Outside the Konoha walls, 2 figures were walking down the path towards Konoha, both wearing similar outfits. They both had black cloaks with red clouds on them, and had straw hats with tassels covering their heads. One of them had a bandaged sword on his back. So this is Konoha, the one with the sword said as he took a deep breath. The fresh air is quite soothing, wouldn't you say? One of the village's thinner features, his partner replied monotonously. Mama, aren't you excited to be back home, Itachi-san? The swordsman asked, the tassels parting to reveal a predatory grin on his face. His partner lifted his head a little as he gazed out onto the village, the tassels parting to reveal a red Sharingan eye that slowly spun around, etching the sight into his memory. Not in the slightest. Fire country on the road. So when are we getting to the next town, Erosenin? Naruto asked as he tossed an apple up and down before taking a bite out of it. We should be there in a few hours, Jiraiya replied as he took a quick look at his map. And I told you to stop calling me that. But then I wouldn't have a good nickname to call you, Naruto said. How about the wonderful, glorious, heartthrob Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya suggested, a smug grin on his face. Naruto looked like he was thinking about it for a moment before saying, nah, that's just a bunch of lies, and I was taught not to lie. Jiraiya glared at the blonde beside him. Damn Gaki. He mumbled. Anyway, we're getting close to the next town. We're gonna rest up for the day before continuing on. Got it? Yeah, I got it, Naruto said as he took another bite out of his apple. Hey, so what are you looking for in Yuzushio anyway? Sarutobi-sensei and I want to retrieve the ceiling tekwa that the Uzumaki locked away before they were overrun, Jiraiya explained. If anyone else were to get to them first, like say Iwa, then they could use them against Konoha. And we wouldn't use them either? Naruto asked. Not unless we have to, which would most likely be to either strengthen the barrier surrounding the village, or as a deterrent for war. Konoha has no interest for starting a war, as we have nothing to gain from it, Jiraiya told him in a serious tone. Plus, all the dead bodies left behind at the end don't make the whole thing worth it. Sensei doesn't want to send any more people to their deaths, he's done enough of that for one lifetime. Yeah, I guess he has, Naruto muttered, remembering the fact that the Sandaime had to lead the village through the Third War. That's one of the things you need to be prepared for if you want to be Hokage Gaki, you gotta know that you may send some people to their deaths on some missions, especially if you're in a time of war, Jiraiya told him. But enough of that depressing stuff, onwards to the next village, there are things to be done. 50 Ryo says that he's gonna run to the nearest bathhouse or brothel when we get there, Naruto groaned in his head, all too aware of what was most likely on Jiraiya's mind. Konoha markets. Kakashi walked down the street, whistling a small tune as he approached a small tea shop and saw Asuma and Kurenai outside as well. The two cloaked figures from earlier were inside as well. Well, don't you two look good together, out on a date? Kakashi teased his fellow jonin. Kurenai blushed and sent a glare at him while Asuma rubbed the back of his head and chuckled. Idiot. I was picking up some sweets for Anko when I ran into this one when I decided to have some tea. So what are you doing here, Kakashi? Asuma asked. You picking up some stuff too? Not today, I'm meeting Sasuke here, Kakashi said, gaining the attention of one of the cloaked figures, which also alerted his partner. Speaking of the Uchiha, Sasuke arrived just that minute too. I'm surprised you're here before me, so what is it that you want, Kakashi? Sasuke asked, some slight irritation in his voice as his private training was interrupted. The cloaked figure immediately took a glance at the young Uchiha before he and his partner left the shop. Asuma and Kurenai leaving as well. Kakashi just gave Sasuke one of his eye smiles. Wait here, I have something to take care of real quick, Kakashi told him before disappearing as well. Sasuke scowled and immediately left the shop, intent on returning to his own training. Training Ground 22. The two cloaked figures walked alongside the river that ran through the training ground, trying to make their way out of sight. However, they stopped as Asuma and Kurenai appeared behind them, appearing tense and ready for combat. Why have you come back, Itachi Uchiha? Asuma questioned. The shorter of the two cloaked figures turned around and removed his hat, revealing the face of a young man with black hair slightly held up with a scratched-out Konoha headband. He had stress lines running down his face, and two Sharingan eyes gazing at the two jonin in front of him. So you already know Itachi, eh? Guess it would only be polite to introduce myself as well, the other figure said as he pulled off his hat, revealing a blue face with small beady eyes and gill-like markings on his face. He had spiky dark blue hair that resembled a shark fin. Kisame Hashigake at your service, he introduced himself while wearing a shark-like grin, showing off his sharp teeth. I've heard of you, Asuma said as he pulled out his trench knives. You're the monster of the hidden mist, a former member of the 7 ninja swordsmen. I don't think your village likes me, Itachi, Kisame told his partner with a grin still on his face. You two are S-class criminals in the bingo book, Kurenai said. Pretty bold of you to come into a hidden village with reputations like that, especially you, Itachi. How dare you show your face here after that incident? Asuma, Kurenai, please do not interfere in my affairs, Itachi told them. Both of the Konoha shinobi before him said nothing as they slipped into a combat stance. Kisame responded by reaching for his sword and slamming it on the ground in an act of intimidation. Much to his surprise, they didn't flinch at his show of strength. "Kisame, we don't have time to waste here," Itachi told his partner. "Just make it so that they can't get back to the village to warn anyone until it's too late." Kisame grinned and sped towards Asuma, swinging his sword to smash against the Jonin. Asuma blocked the attack with his knives, grunting as the weight of the weapon crashed against him, as well as Kisame's strength when swinging it. Kurenai flipped through several hand seals and vanished in a vapor-like fashion while the bandages on Kisame's sword began to unravel, revealing the sword to be made out of scales. Kisame's grin grew wider and he pulled his sword back, managing to wound Asuma on his shoulder. "My sword Samahata doesn't cut, it shaves," Kisame exclaimed as he attacked Asuma again, wounding his shoulder even further. Itachi and Kisame suddenly found themselves trapped in Kurenai's genjutsu. Both of the missing nin were wrapped up by a large tree as Kurenai seemed to melt out of the tree halfway, a kunai in her hand as she prepared to strike them. Suddenly, she found herself bound to the tree with Itachi over her, her kunai in the Uchiha's hand. A genjutsu reversal, Kurenai thought. A genjutsu of this level has no effect on me, not with these eyes, Itachi said as he drove the kunai towards her abdomen. Thinking quickly, Kurenai bit her lip hard enough to draw blood, breaking herself free and managing to dodge Itachi's attack. However, she was unable to dodge Itachi's kick that sent her into the river, causing Asuma to get distracted as he was facing Kisame. The former Kiri ninja took advantage of this and slammed his sword into his side, sending the Jonin flying in Kurenai's direction. Thankfully he was hit with the bandaged part of the sword. "Suiton, water shark bomb jutsu!" Kisame shouted as he created a water shark and sent it at the shinobi, only for another water shark to intercept it and cancel both jutsus out. "That was my jutsu!" Kisame exclaimed in disbelief. "Looks like you two could use some help," Kakashi said as he appeared in front of his fellow Jonin. His headband up and Sharingan at the ready. "What took you so long?" Asuma asked as he got up. "Oh, had to take in the sights, the trees look lovely this time of year," Kakashi quipped as he gave the Sarutobi his patented ice smile. Kurenai just sighed at his antics, wanting to smack the silver-haired Jonin. Well, looks like I can actually put some effort into this," Kisame remarked as he recognized Kakashi, getting into a more proper stance to get ready for the fight. "Remember why we are here, Kisame," Itachi told him as he appeared next to his partner's side. "Why are you here, Itachi?" Kakashi demanded as he pulled out a kunai. "We're looking for something," Itachi said. He then threw a volley of shuriken at the Jonin. Kakashi was only able to block them thanks to his Sharingan being able to track their movements. Kakashi then created a water wall to block more shurikens, as well as another water shark that Kisame sent at him. Itachi then appeared behind Kakashi and stabbed him in the back, revealing Kakashi to be a water clone. "This Itachi is a clone too," Kurenai shouted as she saw the real Itachi further away. Kakashi then appeared and tackled Kurenai. "Get down," he shouted as the Itachi clone exploded. Both the Jonin were thankfully unharmed, but Kakashi was starting to breathe heavily, the strain from his Sharingan beginning to affect him. Be careful, he became an Anbu member at the age of 13 for a reason. You can't be careless around a shinobi of his caliber. Any ideas? Asuma asked as he tightened his grip on his trench knives. "I'm surprised at the amount of skill you have with that Sharingan," Itachi began, "but it pales in comparison to one in the hands of an Uchiha. Still, that your body can hold out this long while using it is an impressive feat. Now let me show you the true power of the Sharingan." Itachi then began to slowly open his eyes. "Both of you close your eyes right now," Kakashi shouted to the two behind him. They didn't question him due to the slight panic in his voice. Kakashi closed his normal eye as well, only keeping his Sharingan on the duo in front of him. "Whatever you do, don't look at him in the eyes. All it will take is a single glance and you're finished. Only someone with another Sharingan can fight him now." "That is true, only another master of the Sharingan can face me without risk of falling into my genjutsu," Itachi said. "However, this Sharingan of mine has a special genjutsu, Tsukuyomi, which can only be beaten by someone with the same blood as me. Sasuke! Kakashi exclaimed as he realized what Itachi was talking about. The Rouge Uchiha's eyes then transformed into a three-pronged shuriken as he activated his Mangekyo Sharingan, and Kakashi felt his world go dark. Tsukuyomi. Unknown. Kakashi looked around as he found himself in a completely different world. It was a barren wasteland with a red sky above him, and it appeared that all the color in the world was inverted, almost like he was in a badly developed photograph. He then noticed that he was tied to a post with his arms stretched out to the sides, like he was on a cross. "Welcome to my world," Itachi said as he appeared before the silver-haired Jonin. "Here I control everything, time, space, what you feel, how long you feel it, everything is within my power here. Now let's begin." A sword then appeared in Itachi's hand and he proceeded to stab Kakashi with it, causing him to feel immense pain. "I have taken care to avoid any vital points as to allow you to fully grasp your situation." Impossible. Kakashi thought. A simple stab wound shouldn't hurt this much. "As I said, I control everything in this world, including how you feel things," Itachi answered, having heard Kakashi's thoughts. Then, much to Kakashi's horror, a horde of Itachi clones appeared, all of them holding swords. They all proceeded to stab at the Jonin, drawing out cries of pain as the swords pierced his flesh, each one of them causing immense pain as Itachi increased his senses to the weapons. The stabbings went on for what felt like an eternity to Kakashi, all of it just not stopping as each clone stepped up to him and drove its sword into the Konoha ninja. Finally, after what felt like forever, it all stopped. Kakashi weakly looked up to see Itachi standing before him, his clones behind him. 71 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds remaining, Itachi said in a monotonous voice as he slowly stepped forward, much to Kakashi's shock, which soon turned into pain as the torture began once more. Real world. Guh. Kakashi grunted as he fell to the ground, the pain in his mind having transferred to his real body. Itachi closed his eyes, feeling a sizable drain on his chakra. Kisame glanced over to his partner. "Careful Itachi, don't stress yourself too much on the small fry. You gotta save your strength for the main prize," he told him with a shark-like grin. "No need to concern yourself, I was merely making a point at the vast difference in power between us," Itachi calmly stated. Kisame just chuckled as he hefted his sword over his shoulder. "Kakashi!" Asuma and Kurenai cried as they watched the strongest Jonin in the village crumble to the ground. He weakly looked up at the two criminals before him, gaining a look of surprise from Kisame. "Ha, that jutsu of Itachi's usually breaks the minds of anyone he uses it on. The fact that you're not a vegetable is very impressive," Kisame stated. "You?" Kakashi started, "You're here for Sasuke?" "No," Itachi replied. "The Yandamei's legacy." Kakashi's eyes widened in realization. "You're after Kyubi," he breathed heavily. "You're members of Akatsuki, aren't you?" Kurenai and Asuma were surprised by the revelation. "Kisame, take them out," Itachi ordered calmly. "They know too much." Kisame's grin grew wider. "Ha, I've been waiting for you to say that." He raced forward, prepared to slam his sword into Kakashi before moving on to the other two. "Konoha Senpu," shouted Guy as he dashed from the tree line, throwing a strong kick to intercept Kisame. The swordsman raised his sword to block the kick, but force of the blow sent him flying back towards Itachi. "How many times are we going to get interrupted?" Kisame shouted in frustration, beginning to get annoyed with the interruptions. "Yosh! Konoha's green beast, Mato Guy, has arrived!" Guy exclaimed as he flashed a smile. When did Konoha start allowing clowns into its ninja force?" Kisame asked as he hefted his sword up again. Seeing Guy arrive, Kakashi finally succumbed to the mental torment and fell unconscious. "Guy! Don't look into Itachi's eyes!" Asuma shouted at his fellow Jonin. "Otherwise you'll end up like Kakashi." "I already know that," Guy told him. Thanks to my many fights with Kakashi, I've developed a way to fight opponents with the Sharingan. Both of you open your eyes, it's alright as long as you don't look into his eyes. Merely look at his feet to fight him. There's only one problem with that, you're the only one who can fight like that, Kurenai explained. There's a method to it actually, but there's no time to learn it now, so you'll just have to get used to it now, Guy told them. Kurenai, get Kakashi out of here and to the hospital before he gets hurt anymore. Asuma, you and I shall fight these two. Come a little closer, let me rip you to shreds. Kisame exclaimed as he allowed his bloodthirst to show itself a little. Itachi raised a hand, stopping the former Kiri shinobi. Enough Kisame, we did not come to start a war. And I've learned that the Kyuubi isn't here, let us take our search elsewhere. Kisame grunted and placed his sword on his back again before the two Akatsuki members vanished, leaving the four Konoha Jonin alone. Unknown. Gah! A scream of pain was heard through a dark hallway, faintly lit by candles that were placed along the walls. The guards patrolling the area, Oto Ninja, by the state of their attire, shuddered as the screams echoed throughout the entire base. All of them knew the origin of the screams, and they all dreaded going near them, fearing that they may lose their lives. Orochimaru-sama, please! Kabuto cried as he rushed to his master's side, a tray of medicine in his hands. You must take your medicine. This worthless medicine isn't helping me. Orochimaru hissed as he smacked the tray out of Kabuto's hands, screaming in pain afterwards as the pain in his arms flared up. He grasped them in pain as the agony engulfed his very being. Damn that creature! How dare it take away my arms! Orochimaru roared, cursing Ifrit. The corrupted ether that the primal pumped into the Sannin's arms practically ate away at the chakra network in them, rendering Orochimaru unable to perform any jutsu. Kabuto picked up the spilled medicine and placed it on the cart. It's a shame that Tsunade is back in Konoha, were she still traveling, we might have been able to convince her to heal you. We don't need that wrench, Orochimaru growled. What I need is something more potent, something made in more hardened times that can heal me. Kabuto raised an eyebrow. Forgive me Orochimaru-sama, but I'm not understanding. The Rouge Sannin smirked darkly as he turned to his assistant. Prepare a squad of shinobi to accompany you Kabuto, and take some of the blood that we managed to get from the Uzumaki girl in Kusa. You're going to Uzushio. Shakuba town. Okay, let's stop here for the day, we've still got a ways to go before hitting Yuzu, Jiraiya said as he and Naruto entered the town. We'd be a lot closer if you weren't trying to hit on every woman who crossed our path, Naruto grumbled. Jiraiya just gave him a glare and kept walking, looking for a place to spend the rest of the day. There, we'll stay in that hotel for tonight, Jiraiya said, spotting a decent place on the corner of the street. As the two approached, a woman in a blue dress winked at Jiraiya and made a come here motion. Needless to say, Jiraiya dumped his chunk of money on Naruto and was instantly at the woman's side. Go and get us a decent room. I'll be back later tonight. Then he and the woman were walking down the road, leaving Naruto blinking at what happened. What just happened? Naruto asked. Kurama facepalmed in disbelief. I can't believe it, there was actually a woman that wanted to spend the night with an old geezer like him. I guess she was just desperate. Naruto weakly suggested. Kurama just sighed and laid down, rubbing his temples. Just, get the damn room, the bijou sighed. Naruto did as the bijou suggested and went and bought a room. He noticed that Jiraiya gave him a lot more money than needed, so he decided to take some for his own wallet, something that Kurama approved. So what can I expect to find at Yuzu? Naruto asked. Kurama raised an eyebrow. You're asking me? You do realize that I've been placed in a seal long before Yuzu was destroyed, right? Well, it's not like I can ask Jiraiya, Naruto told him. Well, you're right on that part, Kurama grumbled. I don't know, ruins, bodies, old headbands, secret vaults containing Uzumaki secrets, that kind of stuff. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Naruto raised an eyebrow, thinking that Jiraiya was gonna be back later like he said. Old Toad probably got hustled out of all his money, Kurama said. No way any San woman would want him. Naruto jumped off the bed and walked to the door and opened it up. He was greeted by the red Sharingan of Itachi Uchiha staring at him, with Kisame standing to the side. Naruto Uzumaki, we need you to come with us. Shakuba Town. So let me get this straight, Naruto began as he stared at the two criminals in front of him. You want me to go with you, two notorious missing ninjas, right? Well, looks like he's a smart one, Kisame remarked with a large grin on his face. Yes, Itachi said as he locked his gaze with the young Chunin in front of him. Naruto put a hand on his chin. Yeah, let me think about the no, he said as he slammed the door in front of them. Kisame blinked owlishly at the door before turning to his partner. Did he just slam the door on us? Kisame asked. Itachi said nothing as he looked on stoically. Kisame pulled out his sword and got ready to bust down the door. Next to him, Itachi's eyes widened and he dove to the side. Kisame noticed a second later and dove to the side too, just as the door exploded and a torrent of fire flowed outward. What the hell? Kisame shouted as he quickly got up. Damn it, I missed, Naruto muttered as he peeked his head out, seeing that both shinobi were okay, with Kisame slightly singed for being slower to evade. Kisame lunged at him with his sword raised, ready to chop off an arm or leg. Naruto raised his arms in front of him, his threads quickly reacting and sliding out to block the sword. Kisame's eyes widened in surprise at seeing the same tekkyuhike that another member of his organization possessed. He moved his head to the side as a tendril shot at him before ripping his sword away and trying to kick Naruto. He blocked it with his threads, but the force of it sent him back. Okay kid, looks like you'll be more troublesome than we thought, Kisame said as he tightened his grip on Samehada. He lunged forward and swung Samehada at the blonde, who managed to roll out of the way in time as the weapon took a rather large chunk out of the wall and floor. Kisame followed his momentum and planted his sword in the wall, using it as leverage as he threw a kick at Naruto that caught him in the chest, sending him flying down the hall, past Itachi, and into the wall. Okay, that hurt, Naruto groaned as he slowly got up. Kisame pulled his sword out of the wall and hefted it onto his shoulder. Come on kid, make this easy on yourself, he said as he walked towards the blonde. You're just causing yourself more trouble this way. Plus, I'm tired, give me a break will ya? Cocky little bastard isn't he? Kurama remarked. Not that his pride is misplaced, his strength is far greater than yours, not to mention he has far more experience in battle than you. Your best bet is to try to last till that toad comes to his senses. I know, I'm just worried that it'll take him too long to realize what's happening, Naruto replied. Kurama grunted in frustration before an idea came to him. Gather up some of my chakra and send it out in a pulse. That should get his attention. Naruto did as the Bijou said, and grasped a minuscule portion of his chakra, though considering how potent Kurama's chakra is, it was still a pretty large amount. Naruto placed his hand on the ground and sent out the chakra in a pulse, that he was sure reached all across the village. The young Chunin noticed how Kisame's eyes narrowed, and he was sure that the Akatsuki member knew what he just did. And if he knew, then Itachi probably knew as well. Kisame then dashed forward and swung his sword, aiming to bash Naruto into the wall, hard. The young Uzumaki crossed his arms quickly, forming a shield with his threads that stopped the majority of Kisame's force, but not enough as he was shoved back into the wall. The threads then shot out, aiming to impale the missing nin on the spot. But Kisame was able to weave through each one, appearing right in Naruto's face and stabbing Samehada forward. Naruto quickly rolled to the side, only getting clipped by the sword on his arm. What the hell? Naruto exclaimed as he felt a drain on his chakra. Kurama narrowed his eyes, understanding what happened. It's the sword, it drained some of your chakra when it touched you. That makes it an effective tool to use against a Jinchuriki if it can handle my chakra. You want me to test it and find out? Naruto asked. No, Kurama told him, the risk outweighs the reward in this situation. If it can handle my chakra, It'll just make it stronger, lowering your chances of survival. Just try to play keep away as much as you can, there's no telling when the Uchiha will step in though. Naruto was pulled out of his thoughts as Kisame leaped up for a downward strike. He quickly backstepped, forming hand signs as he flew back. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Naruto breathed out a fireball that filled the entire hallway and raced towards Kisame. I thought you would have learned after the first time my sword hit you, Kisame said as he hefted Samehada up. My sword eats chakra. He swung it towards the fireball, and the living blade ate the chakra that made up the jutsu, causing it to dissipate. Naruto barely ducked under the blade as it swung over his head, but could not dodge Kisame's foot as it slammed into him, sending him into the wall hard. Kisame then stabbed Samehada into the wall right next to the dazed Naruto. Now then, you gonna come along peacefully, kid? Kisame asked with a shark-like grin. Or am I gonna have to cut off a limb or two? Stop playing around, Kisame, we have work to do, Itachi said to his partner as his eyes drifted to the other end of the hallway, sensing a chakra signature approaching. You're no fun, Kisame deadpanned. Itachi! Kisame and Naruto turned to the yell, and saw Sasuke Uchiha at the other end of the hallway, Sharingan blazing and anger in his eyes. Well, what a sight this is, Kisame grinned. A second Sharingan user. You seem to have missed one during your little killing spree. I left him alive for a purpose, my brother will have something that I need, Itachi told his partner. Well, this will work in our favor, Kurama said. The brat will give the old pervert more time to get here. Now all he has to do is not die quickly. I'll make you pay for what you did. Sasuke roared as a Chidori flared to life in his hand and he raced towards his brother, tearing up the hallway as he did so. Kisame made a move to stop him, but a glance from Itachi stopped that, the elder Uchiha telling his partner not to interfere. Sasuke reached Itachi and stabbed his hand forward, aiming at his brother's heart. Itachi easily side-stepped Sasuke's charge and reached out quickly, grabbing Sasuke's wrist and stabbing the Chidori into the wall next to him, snapping his wrist for good measure. Sasuke cried out in pain as the chakra in his hand vanished, the Chidori vanishing in an instant. Such a poor amount of hatred, Itachi chastised him. How will you ever hope to defeat me like this? The younger Uchiha growled, his Sharingan spinning madly. Itachi slowly closed his eyes before snapping them open, his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning wildly as he locked eyes with Sasuke. Well, that fight looks like it's over, Kisame said as he observed the brothers. Kid was an idiot and looked right into Itachi-san's eyes. Doesn't help that Sasuke thinks his eyes are a gift from God himself, Naruto thought to himself. Kurama snorted in agreement. Sasuke screamed as his mental torture ended and he passed out, twitching slightly. Itachi calmly took out a tissue and wiped a small trail of blood from his eye before looking down at Sasuke with slight disappointment. Kisame, we're leaving, Itachi said as he turned an eye to his partner. Kisame nodded and grabbed Naruto by his throat and squeezed, intent on sending the young Uzumaki into unconsciousness. Naruto struggled to free himself as he slowly ran out of air. Leaving so soon? Why, I've only just got here. Kisame turned to the side and saw Jiraiya there in a combat stance. Kisame dropped Naruto to the ground, who gasped as he finally got some air, and gripped Samehada in both hands. You didn't think a little distraction like that would actually be able to keep me away, did you? Jiraiya questioned with a cocky grin. Considering it took you forever to get here, I'd say the distraction did its job for the most part, Naruto muttered as he leapt away from Kisame. The Rouge swordsman looked back towards his partner. What now, Itachi? Leave the Jinchuriki, we've gathered enough information, Itachi told him as a kunai slipped down from his sleeve into his hand. How cute, you think you'll be able to get away, Jiraiya said as he quickly formed hand seals. Kuchios no Jutsu, Gemaguchi Shibari. The hallway quickly transformed, pink flesh growing everywhere until all four of them were standing in a giant organ. Oi, what the hell is this? Kisame demanded as he looked at the flesh-covered hallway uneasily. He quickly leapt back as part of the flesh made a grab for him. Now that's just disturbing. Itachi wordlessly turned away and began to run towards the end of the hallway, Kisame quickly following him. Jiraiya smirked as the walls of flesh began to cover the rest of the hallway, racing past the 2S rank shinobi and covering that end of the hallway. This is the stomach of a toad who's able to breathe extremely hot flames, so his stomach is very resilient to fire. Not even you will be able to burn your way out, Itachi, Jiraiya said as they turned the corner. A few seconds later, Jiraiya and Naruto held onto the wall for support as the whole building shook. The two Konoha shinobi raced to the corner and saw a hole in the wall, black flames dancing on the edge. What the hell? Jiraiya as he looked at the hole in shock. That's impossible. Nobody's been able to get away from this. I doubt that this toad has ever faced the flames of Amaterasu, Kurama said. Neither the old pervert. So I can understand his disbelief. It's the flames of Amaterasu, Naruto told him. They're able to burn through anything. Jiraiya placed a hand on his chin. To think that Itachi has that in his arsenal. He then walked towards the flames and pulled out a scroll. He then sealed the flames inside the scroll before rolling it up and storing it, banishing the toad's stomach as soon as the flames disappeared. I didn't expect them to make a move so soon, Jiraiya grumbled as he rubbed his chin, looking out at where Kisame and Itachi fled. You know those two? Naruto asked as he walked up to the Sannin. Jiraiya nodded. Yes, they're part of a group that. Dynamic entry. JK. Jiraiya was interrupted by a foot that planted itself in his cheek and sent him flying into the wall. Naruto quickly turned around to see Might Guy standing there, flashing him a sparkling smile and a thumbs up. Yosh! I have arrived just in time to save you from that villainous character, Naruto-kun. Guy told him. Thanks. Naruto replied, dumbfounded by what just happened. It didn't help that Kurama was rolling around in laughter. You hit me, you moron! Jiraiya roared as he pulled himself out of the wall, nursing a bruise that started to form on his face. Guy looked at Jiraiya in shock. Jiraiya-sama. What happened to you? Did those villains manage to defeat you? Jiraiya just facepalmed and muttered under his breath. Naruto was sure that he heard him say something about bathing Guy in toad oil. He walked over to the comatose Sasuke and hefted him over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes before walking back and handing him to Guy. Take this pain in the ass, Jiraiya instructed the Jonin. I don't know he figured out where Itachi was, or why he thought he could take him out, but he practically abandoned the village with his stupidity. Make sure Sensei knows about that. Tell Tsunda that he was hit by the Tsukuyomi, and inform Sensei that they are starting to become active. He'll know what I mean. Yosh! Guy saluted Jiraiya. I shall accomplish this mission with the speed of a tiger. He took Sasuke over his shoulder and bolted out of the hole in the wall, making a beeline back to Konoha. Jiraiya sighed. We should probably head out soon before we get blamed for all of this mess. I hate getting blamed for someone else's mess. I had enough of that back in my Genin days. With that he leapt out of the hole in the wall and landed on the nearest roof before hopping away. Naruto was about to question him when he heard a scream from around the corner. He peeked around and saw the hotel owner ranting and raving at the damages. Naruto decided to follow the guidance of his godfather and quickly left the hotel, chasing after the Sannin. After fleeing the town, Jiraiya and Naruto rested for a moment on a nearby hill. So, wanna tell me what that was all about? Naruto asked. Jiraiya sighed. Honestly, I wanted to keep this from you for a little while longer, Jiraiya told him. But, seeing as they've made their move, I guess I can't keep this from you. Jiraiya straightened up and gave Naruto a serious look. They're a terrorist organization known as the Akatsuki. I have no idea what their master plan is, but all I am aware of is that it involves collecting the bijou, not the Jinchuriki, the bijou. That's worrying, Naruto gulped. That's not even the worst part, Jiraiya continued. Every member of the organization is at least an S-ranked criminal from all over the 5 nations, bar Kuma. So they have the power, it's just a matter of figuring out what they're waiting for. The only reason I know they even exist is because Orochimaru was a member of the organization before leaving in a very sloppy manner. Meaning? Naruto asked. He betrayed them, Jiraiya answered. He was with Itachi, probably on a mission, and tried to steal his eyes. He nearly lost his life trying to do so and barely escaped. So, do we have to worry about them right now? Naruto asked. No, all of my intelligence has said that the organization has no plans to actively move out to capture the Jinchuriki at this point, Jiraiya reassured him. Not for several years, at least. Which is why you're going to need to step up your training for when they decide to actively move out, Jiraiya said. Do you really think I'll get that strong that quickly? Naruto asked. Who knows? Jiraiya shrugged. That part's up to you. Now come on, let's keep going to Yuzu. Back in Konoha. Kushina groaned as she flopped onto her couch, coming back home from a council meeting. Miss Kushina. The Uzumaki matriarch looked up and saw a teenage redhead in the kitchen, helping herself to a glass of milk. Her eyes instantly lit up seeing her. Karen! Kushina exclaimed, instantly sitting up on the couch. You're finally cleared to be out in public? Karen nodded and began to explain. Well, the Hokage personally came down and apologized for asking me to stay hidden for a while. He said that his paranoia had gotten to him when the village really has nothing to fear from Kusa. Oh, that's wonderful, Kushina said as she walked over and embraced the girl. I can't wait for you to meet my daughter. It'll be nice to have another woman in the house. I'm excited to meet her and my fellow shinobi too, Karen said with a smile. Kushina raised an eyebrow. You're planning on staying a shinobi? Karen nodded. I want to give back to the Hokage for allowing me to defect. If he hadn't, I don't know what would have happened to me. Enough about that, Kushina said, placing her hands on Karen's shoulders. Leave those thoughts behind you, you have a better future to look forward to now. Kaa-san, who are you talking to? Natsumi asked as she walked down the stairs. Oh, you met Karine-chan, she said upon seeing the two. How did you get in anyway? Kushina asked as the thought came to her. Hokage-sama said you gave him a key, Karen replied. Oh yeah, I did, Kushina remembered. Anyway, come outside, I want to see what you've learned while in Kusa. Hokage's office. Tsunade let out a sigh as she leaned back in her seat. Come on sensei, she began, let's be reasonable here. There's no way I'd make a good Hokage. The only people I'm good at being a leader to is Shizune, and the doctors in the hospital that I've managed to whip into shape. Asking me to lead the village is just way out of my league. It's not as if you'd be alone in leading the village, Hiruzen countered. I will be here to help you get on your feet, and offer advice should you require it. So you would be leading over my shoulder, is that it? Tsunade deadpanned. Hiruzen shook his head in denial. I would only give you my own opinion on topics that I feel strongly about. The only time I would try to lead beside you is if, Kami forfend, we enter another war. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Aren't we technically already in a war with Orochimaru? If he was an actual village with shinobi that were properly trained, then yes, I would consider us in a war, Hiruzen replied. All of his men are mediocre at the best, and his main strength is going to rely on himself, his elites, snake summons, and any successful experiments he sends at us. You have a point there, Tsunade agreed. Prodigy he may have been, but a terrible teacher he was. He was more effective at teaching one student at a time than three, just look at Anko, Hiruzen pointed out. She was a very skilled shinobi under Orochimaru's tutelage before he betrayed her. But we're getting off track here. The fact of the matter is, I need to name a successor. Why not Jiraiya? He's stronger than me and has more tools at his disposal, Tsunade countered. He needs to run his spy network, especially with the recent development of the Akatsuki starting to make movements, Hiruzen explained. He needs to keep his focus on them. If their plan truly is to gather all of the bijou together, then that could spell a disaster on an immeasurable scale. Tsunade closed her eyes in thought and let out a sigh. She looked back at her former sensei. "I'll think about it, alright," she told him. "I won't make any promises, but I will think about it." "Take as long as you need," Hiruzen replied. Tsunade nodded and walked out of the office, and Hiruzen grabbed his pipe and began taking a smoke as he turned around in his chair, staring at the village below him. Several days later, the shores of Nami. "All set here," Naruto said as he loaded the small boat with supplies. "Be right there," Jiraiya called over before turning around to Tazuna. The duo had arrived in Nami yesterday and were going to stay the night before buying a boat and heading out to Yuzu. By mere chance, they happened upon Tazuna, who was in the marketplace, and offered them lodging at his house, and his spare boat to use when they set out. Naruto was thankful to Tazuna's generosity and convinced Jiraiya to accept as well. "Thank you again for your generosity last night, and for offering us your spare boat," Jiraiya said. Tazuna waved him off. "Please, it's the least I could do. Nami owes much and more to the kid for freeing us from Gato's grip." "I still haven't heard all the details of that mission," Jiraiya muttered. "Nonetheless, your help is greatly appreciated. We'll be sure to return the boat to you in one piece." Jiraiya bowed to the man once more before heading down to the boat. "Come on Gaki, we've got some rowing to do," he said as he began to push the boat into the water. Naruto quickly moved to help him before they both jumped into the boat. As it hit the water, he waved to Tazuna one last time before helping Jiraiya in rowing the boat. "So is this the only way into Yuzu now?" Naruto asked after a while of rowing. "To put it bluntly, yes," Jiraiya replied. "There used to be a bridge linking it to the mainland, but the Uzumakis blew it up when Kiri, Kyumo, and Iwa launched its invasion towards the end of the Third War. I've heard rumors that there was also some form of seals set up for teleportation to and from the island, but I've never been here to check it out, before today that is." "Why not?" Naruto asked. "Well, when the invasion force couldn't take the bridge to Yuzu, they either took boats, or water walked alongside the boats to go and invade. And I'm not talking small boats like this, I'm talking about huge boats, able to hold plenty of squads of shinobi. This was an old Kiri design, and they mobilized all of them to move the shinobi to Yuzu." Naruto's eyes widened at the thought. "Are these things still around?" Jiraiya shook his head. "No, all the designs were destroyed by a Konoha espionage team, and all the ships were destroyed when Yuzu sprung its trap." "Trap?" Naruto asked. "Yes, Yuzu's trap," Jiraiya confirmed. "When the invasion arrived on Yuzu's shores, the Uzukage activated special seals on the sea floor that surrounded the island. They created powerful raging whirlpools that destroyed all the ships, and trapped everyone on the island. Even though all of the Uzumakis who were there were killed, the invaders had no way of leaving, so they were all killed off by starvation." "Wow, my ancestors were amazing," Naruto whispered. "Wait a minute, then how are we supposed to get there?" "As you know, I am the Toad Sage," Jiraiya started. "One of the benefits that provides me is that I can gain some amphibian traits and head underwater for a time. So I was able to observe the seals that are generating the whirlpools, and managed to find what I assume is the only way to get past them. From what I was able to tell, the seals will deactivate when an Uzumaki approaches them, and reactivate when they're past a certain distance." "You're sure that's how it works?" Naruto asked skeptically. "Kid, I've been studying seals for many years now," Jiraiya pointed out. "I taught your father the majority of what he knew, and he taught me things he discovered. Not to mention your mother did allow me to study a few basic Uzumaki seals back when she was pregnant with you. So I'd like to think I know enough about Uzumaki seals to say with certainty that's how these whirlpool seals work." Naruto said nothing as they continued to row. They kept going for a few more minutes before Naruto thought he heard the sound of rushing water. "We're here," Jiraiya said as he stopped rowing, and placed a hand on Naruto's arm to stop him. Naruto looked behind him and saw a massive whirlpool a fair distance away from their boat. Looking to the sides of it, Naruto could see more whirlpools as well, all of them almost touching with how close they are. "What now?" Naruto asked. Well, there's a few ideas I want to try first before we just row forward, Jiraiya answered. First, leap out and water walk, see if you being on the water and channeling chakra causes the seal to react. Naruto took a deep breath to steady himself before jumping onto the water, while also hanging onto the boat. Naruto stood there, tense, for a good minute, with the whirlpool not reacting. Try a drop of blood, Jiraiya suggested as he handed him a kunai. Maybe it's a blood seal. Naruto nodded and took the kunai, and nicked his finger before letting a few drops of blood fall into the water. Once more, there was no reaction, so Naruto climbed back inside. Death it is, Naruto gulped. Jiraiya said nothing as he slowly rowed the boat forward. Naruto gulped and gripped the edge of the boat tighter, as it was slowly pulled into the whirlpool's current. Suddenly, the whirlpool began to shudder before it vanished. Jiraiya's eyes widened and a mad grin formed on his face as he rowed faster, eager to get past the barrier. Ahahaha! Jiraiya laughed madly. I knew it. Less gloating, more rowing. Naruto yelled. Jiraiya complied, but didn't get rid of the shit-eating grin on his face. Naruto looked behind Jiraiya to see that they were far enough that the seal couldn't detect him anymore, causing the whirlpool to form once again. There it is, Jiraiya said as he slowed down. Naruto turned around once more to see they had reached a beach. Up on a hill was a torii gate with the symbol of the Uzumaki hanging from it. Welcome to Uzushiogakure. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this what if and want to see next part of it, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. See you in the next video. Peace.